Hello. Recording the weekly analysis for this week. The 4-hour range. Let's without beating around the bush and start as it is without lengthening the video too much. This is our 4-hour range. Previously, we were in this pullback and we were still in that area where we are yet to see a true 4-hour move that could potentially shift our 4-hour bias. So we are still focusing on our 15-minute structure. Alright, now this is our 15-minute structure. Previously we identified this change of this trend change right here and this POI, but at the moment price was stuck in these two ranges, and we identify that the range that the sellers have higher probability of breaking this deadlock that they were stuck in. So as seen, right, we were stuck in this range. Finally, when price reached this POI again, big orders finally stepped in the market, and at the end the result is as seen. This strong low was broken. So right now what happened after that, let me say. Alright, okay, so we have this break of structure to the downside that makes this of a strong high. According to that, we also have this L1 break of structure that also the highest point is this. So we will not be considering this break of structure right here, because this will make the structure overlapping. Alright, because if we consider these both, then the L1 and this structure break would overlap with a strong high, which is pretty useless. We don't want that. So let me just fix our ranges at this moment. Here we have our most recent break of structure to the downside, and our strong low shift to the highest point from, what is the highest point? This is the highest point. Alright, yes. So with this being the highest point, what would our internal structure be? After this breakout, we saw our internal structure being this, then this was our low, so the highest point that led to that would be this, and the internal structure for that would be this. But leaving the internal structure and external structure out of the picture, what we can see right now is that, in simple words, let me just create a box. we were in a deadlock like this. We were in this consolidation range, alright, where we identified in our previous session analysis that the people that are selling from above here has the edge that is possible that it will soon lead to the breakout of this zone that sustained this long period of consolidation, and as predicted price did follow our analysis. Now the question is that we did not discuss in our previous session analysis what we will do after the price break this point, right? So now that the price has broke this, alright, we want to give price enough time for it to build enough structure. The one possibility that I see right now is there is this first demand area right here. So leaving that beside, what I want to see, now we finally have the breakout of this area. I want to see a pullback, alright. What do we expect after a break of structure? We expect a pullback, and the most likely point from where that pullback could occur is this 4-hour POI, from where we can potentially see that pullback. And ideally I want to see some sort of change of character after this POI is mitigated like such, and then I would like to trade that pullback below the EQ. By the way, EQ would be the 0.5 level, alright. At this moment our 0.5 level is this, and 0.5 level is equal to our EQ, or what we may call it equilibrium. EQ is like its short form. So let me summarize on the 4-hour. Alright, we still has not seen a breakdown of this low or a breakdown of this high, so we are still following our 15-minute range, alright, which is this is our 15-minute strong high and this is our weak low. But we have here, we had this pullback, now we have that continuation, alright. Now what we want to expect a pullback at this moment. After this breakout structure, we expect price to pull back, and below the equilibrium we want to look to trade that pullback, and above the equilibrium we want to trade those POIs. And where is our first potential opportunity from where we can enter into that equilibrium? Oh, my bad, I said equilibrium, I mean the pullback. The first possibility, if price mitigates this and generates some good structure at this moment, then we can potentially look to trade that pullback below our equilibrium, or what we may call it premium pricing. We can further refine this POI right here, but I don't see a need to do that. Let me identify the zone at this liquidity at this moment. Now one thing I am a bit concerned about is that due to this long stay, right, The cell is at a strong pressure and market like stayed at this moment a lot longer, so that actually means this point has a lot of liquidity above it. So this is a very good protected level. This will be that sorry, this will be that factor 4R zone. Alright, if you want to like, now let me actually mark this factoral zone. It has liquidity swapped prior to its formation. A small imbalance, so the imbalance right here, a break of structure, and the break of this whole zone is already strong enough, and it's ideally change of character too. I think this is on a lower time frame. This would be the imbalance, and this would be that break of structure. But ideally, I think if the POI is like this, will depend actually back at that moment. And that would be style middle line off, and then this would be style and middle line off. Now there are like 2 points in time what I want to see. The first thing is that if a pullback does occur at this moment, my first point would be this, from where I can potentially expect that reaction. However, the thing is, I don't regard this as a solid POI. It is more of a possibility that a reaction could potentially happen from here. My overall solid POI lies at this moment. I ideally want to see my price come up to this POI before generating that underlying resumption of the trend. The second thing is that if we can notice, there is this large imbalance at this moment, there is every possibility that price come up, mitigate this imbalance at this moment, and then fall down. Now what could potentially occur at this moment is like such that a change of character occur, and we ideally could trade that. Alright, trade that and target that 1 raised to 3, but sometime what would happen is that this change of character will be used as inducement for big people to step in as they supply. The other thing that could happen is like such, it can just violate, but still our overall anticipation is if a change of character does occur after mitigating this imbalance area right here, we will directly trade it, because the chances I think are less that it will be used as inducement, because the already the institutions have entered at this moment, and it is probably likely that they will enter again directly Let me clean up the chart a bit. Now let me just recap the possibilities that could happen. Our first would be that price directly break this all down to reach these deeper POIs at this moment. Then I will actually be just looking for that buy side setup from these POIs. Second is that price begin its pullback from at this moment. If this happen right before mitigating the 4-hour POI, a pullback take place, I will be looking for, like, if I want to have an entry at that moment, I want to see a inducement, right, inducement taken, and then I will enter, right. This would be that inducement and this would be that zone from where I want to enter and target the EQ. And if price mitigate this, we want to look for those buy side opportunities and then enter. And the second is, after the pullback end, we want to look for these two for a direct entry, ideally at this zone. And second, we want to see a reaction from these areas. However, the last possibility I did not mention, that market could potentially on Monday have a gap up opening, meaning that price could potentially directly open up at here or here. Anywhere at the chart, we cannot expect that. The last would be like price like go up and violate this whole area, and then we will be like following our 4-hour bias or the 4-hour continuation. And if that does happen, we are going to do that. I will be looking out for this supply area for that potential short time movement or that pullback. Alright, I think that is enough.